Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. Yes, today we're going full into winter designs. We're doing a fun wet on wet splatter kind of bokeh look, winter scene tutorial. This is just a lot of fun to do. Just simple splattering color, moving color around, then painting in some little trees with some branches. Very, very simple and easy, but has a great effect to play around with this kind of style. Let me know if you actually like to do wet on wet kind of atmospheric kind of looks. I did one like last year that was really popular. That was more of a, green tree. So let's do some blue ones today. I go with a step by step also. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Love to hear if you have any questions. Also check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. You can check it out in a little blip right here. Boop! That comes up in a second. So without further ado, let's splatter, let's play, let's have fun, and don't even think about perfection. Let's just enjoy. Okay, let's get started. All right, so let's go over supplies. I have a 6x9 piece of Arch 100% cotton cold pressed paper. I have that plastic, this is from a plain air kind of setup, and it's just a piece of plastic. So you could use whatever laminate kind of surface you have. I've talked about this in that watercolor tutorial I did called the one trick, keeping it very wet. So any kind of plastic is perfect, a laminated surface. So it would just like kind of adhere to it. I'm sure you guys, you can just buy a piece of plexiglass, at like a Home Depot or a craft store or something like that. They even sell like plastic pallets that are just flat. They do. So you can just buy a cheap plastic palette that's flat and use that. My palette, I'll go over my paints. I have paper towels, and I'll be using Princeton 12 and maybe some bigger brushes. We're just washing in color. Also, I either use a sea sponge or a 2-inch wide, wet both sides of the paper, and then it will adhere to this plastic like glue. It's great. And then it stays wet longer. So I've already pre-mixed colors. I have a Prussian blue mixed with my Payne's gray here to make like almost like a navy, or you can use navy. This is ultramarine. This is Payne's gray. This is cobalt. And this is ultramarine mixed with some rose. And we're going to have our trusty gouache close by to do some splattering. So first we're going to start by we're going to wet both sides of this paper. Oops. Sorry. I can use my sea sponge if you have a big, or you could use a brush, right? So you start, this is the back, wetting the back. The sea sponge is really good because it doesn't put a lot of water on there. It's just enough what you need, right? And then you flip it over. I'm going to do it the horizontal. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to put water on this side. And now we're going to just play with bleeding and color. Wet and wet. And we'll stay wet like this for a while, and we'll just see how it just adheres to the plastic. It just stays there. It's great. So picture yourself, this is just a fun little exercise, loose, wet on wet, and splattering and doing some winter trees, maybe like a hill kind of coming from here going upward, or maybe down like that. That part would be white. So if you wanted to start off taking your number 12 brush or a big brush that you have, we're going to start bleeding in some color. We'll start with a lighter color. This is really kind of bright, this cobalt. I might add a little Payne's gray just to dull it down a little bit. I don't want it super bright, but it's pretty. So if you figure you can have your hill kind of here, right? Yeah, see, it's already bleeding, but that's fine. Maybe put a little curving it this way. And then we're going to start to bleed in the other colors on top. And you want to mix a fairly amount of this because it's really going to just soak up the paint. So up here it's going to be darker. See, that's just really this intense blue. I want to add more Payne's gray to that. Get like more of a navy. I'm getting really wet, by the way. That's so dark, isn't it? Water it down a little bit. Adding some water. I can add some ultramarine blue. So you get some different tones of the blue. You can add the purple in there. Grab that purple. Look at that. I'm just playing. It's all about the fun. It's all about the fun. See, adding some purple. You can add some of this. This is peacock blue. I mixed it in with it. Just mix it in with all the other blues, whatever. You can just play around with your blues. Just the cobalt. Really got that dark color. I'm going to put some more intense dark color up here. Really want the dark kind of on top. You can start to play with some, like kind of in here, and maybe pretend there's like a tree. Just put a line down and crisscross. Crisscross applesauce, see? How you do that? I'm getting more paint here. So it's peacock with Payne's gray, but if you have navy, use that. Using this big old brush, just to put a line down and just go like the wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. See what we got. I don't know if I like that. Don't like it. Oh, and look I made a mistake. Oops. Don't worry about that. I'm just going to kind of push that around. And let's go back and make some more purple. So we've got that rose, and I can add ultramarine, blue. It's all about playing. Yeah, I'm not going to do the trees like that. I think we're going to just keep with what I intentionally wanted to do in the first place, which is this white trees on this really kind of fun background. So I'm getting some purple in here. Going to grab the blue. Now it's still kind of bleeding down here, but not that much. I want to keep the little hill there. And I'm going to go back up and add some darker color tones. I want some dark ones in here. So I'm mixing up some more dark color. Get a little damp. Just kind of tapping it. This is supposed to be fun. Don't get stressed out about this at all, please. No. I want some darker tones. Yeah. I don't want it too light up in here. Ooh, see? I make mistakes, but I'm not worried about it. And then I'm going to put some color in here. Just a little bit lighter. So I've got that cobalt. I'm going to add a little more of this. It's just too bright. So I'm going to just have to play around with adding some. See that mistake? I just turned that into a little fun wishy-washy. Then I'll add some lighter color in here. So you get some variation of the snow. Isn't that great? You can lift it up if you don't like all of it. Can add some little purple color in there too. Why not? This is supposed to be like more of an abstract, having fun. Now we're gonna take the fun splatter of the gouache. At this point, you can put up. I actually didn't mention that I have it leaning on top of this little thing here. I have it leaning kind of. Sorry, guys. I don't know why. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. But you don't necessarily have to do that. Have it leaning. Just not necessary. So I have white gouache here. Let's loosen it up. And I talk about this all the time. The thicker the brush, the bigger the splatter. So fairly loose. And I always kind of tap the brush on top of another brush. Let's see how big we got that. Look at that. Snow! It's snowing! It's snowing! It's snowing out. Did you know it was snowing out? Oh, this is the fun. Snow. You can get a little crazy in some areas if you want. We're going to be painting in some white trees when this is dry. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Go on the whole paper if you want. Because, you know, snow doesn't particularly just care about one section. It goes all over the place. This is the fun. And because it's gouache hitting that watercolor, it's got some chalk in the paint, it's going to start to do this funky separation thing, which I like. And when it dries, if it dries where you don't see it as much, you can go back over and splatter again once we paint our trees, right? A little bit more. See, it's kind of moving in a weird, funky direction. See that kind of like, look at that, up close. It's kind of wild, right? It does this weird kind of funkiness. Now, at this point, you can play a little bit with bokeh. And that's like making that like where you took a photograph and it's kind of faded the background. I don't know if I want to play with it too much, but I want to take my brush. I've cleaned it off. Kind of lift the paint, twisting, lifting, circles. See? You might want to grab a more sturdier brush. It's kind of too floppy. I have a couple of sturdy brushes. This one's kind of like more of a sturdy bristle brush. This is just a cheap Winsor Newton cotton brush. Look at that. See how that paint just kind of went, it did its own thing. See, you can lift that up. Basically, you clean off your brush. You can also try and use a paper towel. I'm doing like little twist movements and lifting up. Now you could cheat and grab a paper towel, but paper towel just really takes up all the color. And I don't know if I want to do that. I want that soft. That looks kind of cool if you lift up. See, it's kind of like sparkles, lifting up that one note. You just take a paper towel, scrunch it up. See, do a few of them. Don't do a million of them. It's kind of sparkling in the sky. I like how this thing went like wild like that. All right, gonna get a few more. Maybe with a wild one here. He's a wild one. I do want to add a little bit more dark tone in here. Let's see. Just tap in some dark color while it's still damp. Now this is going to stay damp for a while. That's the whole trick about this wet on wet technique. Going to play with some dark color tones in here. Because we're going to be adding some white trees. So it's going to really be enhanced with a darker color. Maybe that's a little too black. A little more blue. Playing around, even around the gouache paint here. Adding in some deeper color. Yeah. Well, that's kind of funky, huh? So now, look at that. See how it's just kind of like doing this wild movement kind of thing. We're going to let it sit and let it dry. Don't play with it. Of course, by the power of television, I might go in here and grab a little more, a couple more circles. If you hear that noise, that's my little Brady. You can hear his collar. My studio mate. Huh. Sorry, Brady, you can't go in the limelight. Lifting up a few more of these. There. All right, so we're going to let this sit, let it dry, and I'm going to come back and paint some really kind of cute little white trees. Okay, so by the power of magic television, it's dry. Mine's going to be curling a little bit because I kind of fast forwarded it, but if you let it just sit and dry, it will dry completely flat, by the way, that technique. And by the way, what's really cool about that, if you hated this front, look at the back, because mine bled. That's really cool. You could just write the words Merry Christmas in here and throw some snowflakes, and boom, you have this awesome, this awesome design on the back. So now we're just going to be taking our white gouache at this point. I'm going to be using a Princeton 8 long round. I didn't mention that in the beginning. Now it's really loose here, so we're going to add more paint because we need it thicker because we want it to be opaque, right? We'll start off by using some of the darker color here, like I have that dark blue again, to just build the tree trunk. So wherever you want to put the tree, kind of just start from here. Put my paper towel and go up, right? And then just build some tree trunks like this with the branches. And then we're going to go over it with white. It's good to start off with a dark color, like for this trunk, and then so I'm just making them go up. Put another one down here. You can put a million across the page. I wouldn't suggest that. I would just do a few. And I like to do odd numbers. So you can just have this lone dude here. And you don't have to do this shape. You can do just basically almost like evergreen trees. So now I've got that color in there just to show you as a guide, right? We're going to start to use the white. You can add a little bit of water, obviously, because you need to move that paint. So we have this here, and we can start to put the branch in it. Sorry. Mine might be a little bit damp, but just simple little branches that are white coming out here. See, just I do a bunch of them kind of gathered too. Really kind of go fast if you can. I find if you go faster, it looks more natural. You overthink too much if you go slow. And maybe you have to go slow because you have some kind of issue with your hands or something, but the faster you go, the more natural. And see how loose I'm just kind of throwing those branches and crisscrossing them. But now you can really see them pop with that blue background. Just going really fast. You can put like a little evergreen. So then you're just going to do that swooping motion like I talked about in my other one. If I just did this, the 5-minute craft. Hoop, swoop, swoop, swoop. See? Just take the paint. And you have a little evergreen tree here. Isn't that cute? So we have a variety of trees. And I'm just going to put them on the side. And go back and use this guy. Little branches. Going really fast. Woohoo. Coming way up here too, right where the dark blue is. I'm doing a lot of branches up in here. It's gonna, try and keep the consistency of this paint should be kind of like a cross between butter and a little cream. So you can kind of move the paint, but you want it really opaque so you can see it. See, I'm doing these branches really kind of fast. Crisscrossing. Woohoo! Isn't that fun? Doesn't it look great? And go a little faster so you can see, get the branches and you can kind of go over. So he can kind of be on road going that way, but I would kind of just have him going upward. Just going really kind of fast. You can have some snow on one side if you want to do that. But I'm just going really fast. So you get the point of like the branches going up. And here's this one over here, the lone dude. Now you see how the paint for the white, it didn't stay white. It kind of splattered like that bokeh effect. We can go back in and splatter some real snow now that it's mostly dry. Just doing all these little branch movements here. It's an expression. It doesn't have to be this perfect tree. That's why I go fast. People can figure it out. They understand that this is a tree. And they're very therapeutic, by the way, to make all these little branches. See? Got the tree branches. Whoops. Zoom back out. And if you want to add a little more funky snow in here, just take your brush, tap, tap, tap. Okay. And remember, here's that little evergreen. I'm going to go back over in here. You want to add another little evergreen, a tiny one in the background. Just a few of those. You have different kind of tree varieties. I'm doing 3 because I like everything in odds. See? It's kind of cute, right? And then, of course, what am I going to tell you to do now? Splatter again! Now, because it's drier, the white's going to show up more. You use this brush, it's going to be smaller splatters. If you use the 12, it's going to be bigger ones. So, I'll show you what I mean. Going to get really loose, this paint, this gouache. Much bigger. You make some small ones. And now we have the difference between that atmospheric kind of look and then real snow. So it's like it's a double splatter for people. For my splatter friends who love the splatter, you know who you are. This is the card for a design for you. Just a winter scene. Doesn't it look like it's been snowing, and almost like the photograph is kind of like you took the photograph and the snow is kind of in. That's why I like that splatter with the wet on wet. You get that really kind of cool look. And you can go back and see how you see like a nice little blue shadow kind of going in here. Kind of play around with adding some more snow down here. Oh my God, I love it. Doesn't it look cool? So I just added a few of those trees. You can go back in if they're starting to like see, if it's the paint is not thick enough, it won't be opaque. So I'm just going to go back over some of my branches and not really showing up as much as I want them to. But that's what you do. You just go over them. And that's it. And then you have this really cool, super easy, fun, playful winter card. You can go back and add some whiter snow. Right here, right? You can pretend there's some shadows even coming from here. I can go back and grab some blue. Take some ultramarine blue. See, just take it, holding, going on its side a little bit, and look how cool that looks. Now, that doesn't make sense if the light's coming from this way, you see the tree, but they're kind of just, it's not like it's a light. Maybe it's coming from that section. You know what I mean? Usually you'd have the shadow kind of going this way. But we can play around with that. And you can just make little mounds. See? With the blue. Don't have to do that though. I kind of liked it without it. So maybe I'll just kind of move that out of the way. Blend it. Got the purple in there. Just really pretty. Simple. So I don't want to mess with it anymore. I hope you guys enjoy this. Look at that. Go in and just do the white trees. Do some of those little pine trees. But I love that look. Splatter, splatter, splatter. And get excited. Winter is coming. I actually don't like winter, but I will suffer through it. So I hope you guys enjoy this wet on wet kind of atmospheric / semi-abstract, because you're actually doing some actual trees, winter tutorial. Let me know your thoughts and take care, and I'll speak to you soon.